Greetings, upstanders. Dr. O here. And with the assassination attempt of the Minnesota lawmakers, there's been so much conversation about this idea of keeping score, toning down political rhetoric, and the rhetoric of violence, and so on and so forth. And it's been very frustrating to see the tone that people are taking because once again, we are seeing people take this both sides argument. Both sides need to tone down the rhetoric. Both sides need to come to the table. Both sides need to condemn political violence. This is a ridiculous comment to make, specifically as it relates to political leadership. Again, political leadership. Do you have people on all sides of the political spectrum who talk about inflicting violence and doing evil, savage things to each other? Absolutely true. There's no denial as it relates to that. But when we talk specifically about political, but even on that, it's not equal. When you see people like Elon Musk and all of these other guys in the MAGA movement who were out there promoting conspiracy theories about these guys were killed by liberal Democrats because they were mad that these Democrats voted not to give healthcare funding or Medicare funding to people who are undocumented, and so it was a liberal Democrat who did that, and the fact that he had a No Kings flyer in his car meant that he was part of the No Kings movement. Like, even that, there's not a balance there as it relates to, I don't call them the right because they're wrong, as it relates to people on the liberal side of things and people on the MAGA / conservative side of things. There's not a balance there. Though, of course, anybody who calls for any type of violence on any side of the spectrum, it needs to be checked and acknowledged. But when it comes to the politicians, when it comes to our so-called leaders, it is the Republicans who own the field as it relates to putting out and talking about and celebrating violence. Look at what Mike Lee just posted as it relates to this is what happens when you have Marxist policies, and that people struggling. This is also what happened in Minnesota. And the people who are mad at the most right now are people on Wall Street, what WALZ is, and Tim Walz and the like. He posts this, and these people are not even in the ground, and two people are still fighting for their lives. And this is what Mike Lee, a senator, posts. Democrats do not do that. Now, what are people going to say? Oh, they're going to bring up Maxine Waters from 80 years ago, saying when you see people, confront them. And she was talking about going up to them and letting them know you don't care about their policies. And you got issues with their policies. They're going to bring up Cory Booker at one point saying that, he got so mad he wanted to punch somebody in the face, didn't advocate for doing it, and later said that was wrong, to say as far as if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. But he was talking about his feelings in the moment, but knew that was not the right thing to be doing or saying, and didn't advocate for somebody going out to actually do that. Republicans are the ones, starting with Trump for the last 10 years. Beat this guy up, I'll pay for your funeral expenses. I'll pay for the legal expenses. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of these Republicans sending out Christmas cards with them and their kids holding guns. During the Hillary Clinton campaign, Trump, maybe the Second Amendment people have something to say about it. Mike, whatever, Speaker of the House, Mike, is just Mike Johnson. Governor should be tarred and feathered. Arrest Padilla. Like, these are the people who own the lot as it relates to political violence and advocating for it. And that's the truth. There is no other situation where people look at an issue that needs to be targeted and says we need to have an all sides approach. When we talk about issues of targeting violence in schools, we target the people who are the most violent, the people who are doing that type of work. When we talk about war, treating disease, and so on and so forth, we target the group that's doing that's most responsible for the spread of a disease and how we can help get them the treatment that they need so it can better help everybody. All of this both siding talk about political violence, and especially if it doesn't come from the top, which is with Trump, then nothing is going to change. And I can guarantee you that as soon as Trump finds out more about the fact that this guy who was a shooter in Minnesota supported him, his rhetoric is going to change substantially. You'll hear something, oh, yeah, that's wrong, but I heard that he liked me, and so on and so forth. So why don't y'all in the media just be clear about that? Why don't y'all just acknowledge that? This is something that is led by Republicans. It's and Republican so-called leadership. Democrats do not do that. And if they do, in any way, shape, or form, they actually add this part. Because some of y'all are going to show some random video of doctored footage of Democrats saying this and that over the years. If they put out stuff, they at the very minimum get condemned by other Democrats. And you also know that that is true. And so if y'all, Joe Scarborough, everybody from Joe Scarborough to, to just run down the list. All of you people out there who are saying, we have to condemn all of this on all sides and are not going to give the proper attribution to where the majority of this work and ignorance and hate and intolerance comes from, you're not being honest. You're not being genuine. And that is why this is going to continue. That is why this is going to continue. Several Republicans have come out and condemned some of this. Not enough. Not all of them. Where's the joint statement? The House should have already had a statement out. The Senate should have already had a statement out. Pam Bondi and all of these guys, they speak and talk about violence. Rubio, all of these guys, they are violent individuals and they talk about it and have no problem doing it. And you really expect this FBI with Bongino and Patel to really take the lead and run over all of the stuff with all of the rhetoric that they put out? You really expect Pam Bondi to really do something serious and significant? The same person who talked about, the burning of cyber trucks as, terrorist acts, wrong and vandalism, of course, but, gonna prosecute that just as much as they would prosecute a hate crime. Like, you think they're gonna go hard on these MAGA folks? These are the same people, Trump and the Republican Party, who pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists and violent people. I wouldn't be surprised if this man was one of the people who was incarcerated and at the insurrection and let go. Nothing has come out to say that. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. They are the ones who put the violent people on the street. They are the ones who are sending out people in mass to pull mothers off the street and to hold mothers and their daughters outside hostage so that the people that they're looking for on the inside can come out. Like, they are the ones doing that. Do not both sides this talk of political violence from the leadership. It is ridiculous. It's not true. It's not accurate. And if y'all are going to continue to both sides this, then you are also complicit in what's happening right now. When we look at the civil rights movement and the like, there wasn't like, civil rights activists, are calling for, self-defense and responding to the violence they might receive by defending themselves. And then it's like taking that and comparing it with the Klan and saying we need to all tone down the rhetoric. No, the Klan was targeted. These citizens' councils and these groups were targeted because they were the ones doing the most. And so I'm so tired of people getting out there and just being bystanders to this. If we want to be upstanders in this particular issue, we need to call out the primary people who are the main people responsible for the rhetoric of violence in the political leadership space, and that starts from Trump and works its way down. Period. Bottom line. And I guarantee you're not going to find any video of a Democrat saying, any leader of some sort, politician, saying something and not at the very least being challenged by members of their own party. So stop the nonsense. Stop the both sidesing. Right now, as we're speaking, people who are part of MAGA are using this to drum, and people who are part of the Russian misinformation bot system and all of it, they're all using right now to drum this up as something that this attack, this assassination, and assassination attempts have actually been something that has been perpetrated by Democrats. They are doing that right now. Over this weekend, I don't know about the situation in Utah in terms of the shooting there, but the violence that we know that happened over the weekend, No King's Weekend, march and all of that, was perpetrated by MAGA people. The person in Culpeper, Virginia, who drove his car through the crowd. This assassination in Minnesota. And if if the shooting in Utah was something that was done by somebody who was a liberal and just was like mad or something, then that's going to be condemned too, because that's what people on this side of the aisle do. But y'all are going to keep trying to vote. We're never going to get anywhere. It's the MAGA folks who are armed. It's the MAGA folks who are putting out the violence. It's the MAGA folks who are putting out the rhetoric. It's the MAGA folks, it's the Steve Bannons of the world and all of these guys who are putting targets on people's backs. And that is a fact. An overwhelming majority so. And this violence is not being called on by the political leadership. So all of y'all on Democratic side. So all y'all who are just talking about tone it down, and many of y'all who are saying we need to tone it down won't mention Trump by name. How serious are you about this? And people can bring up, again, somebody was, I believe, waiting outside or near Brett Kavanaugh's home and wanted to attack him. Wrong, completely condemned. No Democratic leaders call for that. Amy Coney Barrett, someone set a bomb to her sister's house. I find that hard to believe that that is something that came from people on the Democratic side of things, when we know that these MAGA folks have turned on her already for some of her rulings. So I'm here to condemn all of the violence. It's all wrong, should not be happening. But I'm also clear as it relates to who is the major perpetrator of the violence against people. And even when you look at the rallies over the weekend, Los Angeles, when you look at people like Jacob Sofara, whose reporting is impeccable, talks about when the tear gas and all that stuff started in Los Angeles, that was started by the sheriff's department, not even the LAPD, the sheriff's department, like provoking people on. And then people say, oh, don't give Trump the image that he wants. What about the images that they're giving us every single day of the violence and the hate that they're calling for? Be real about that. Starting with Mike Lee, who is not going to issue an apology, who's not going to take it down, who's not going to do anything to work towards peace with the different parties, not going to do anything like that. So look, y'all, if we're going to have this conversation, it needs to be had, but it needs to be real. And that's a fact. Period, bottom line. The Republican leadership owns the whole domain on advocating for political violence. And it starts from the top down. Recognize that, and then let's have a conversation about how we're really going to move on in terms of bringing people together. Anything less than that is not serious.